Okay, YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Buddha back in the building for some more last Cloudia content, and we are here to talk about breaking. This is just an video idea I had. Someone had asked me recently, shout out to Axel on the Buddha Gang Discord, asking me a good breaker build for his Dante. And personally, I don't have Dante, but I said, hey, let me take a shot at just going over general breaker basics in this game. And to my understanding, it's not too much to know. A lot of characters that can be considered breakers, they have skills built into their kits, and they have natural break damage built innately. And I'm not sure the exact mechanics of it, but I wanted to just go over something simple, a simple guide to help anyone that's looking for some kind of help in the breaker department, especially with the multiplayer boss we have going on right now. We've still got just under a week left of Naglfar, the Rising Fortress. The key to beating him is being able to break him down and then burst damage while he's in break. So I figured, why not just try and cover a couple of these bases, kind of a crash course guide to taking on Naglfar, understanding the break mechanic a little more, what skills and arcs that are key in this fight. And then I was thinking about showing off what I'm running in Naglfar. Spoiler alert, you saw him on the front, it's Baran. Baran is not even a natural breaker in his own right, but because of his damage output, he can just look stellar in both the break and damage support. When you combine both of those two factors, he's amazing for this event. I think 4 Barans together could easily wipe the floor with Naglfar in the first 10-15 seconds. So I want to showcase that. That's what I'm going to cover in this video. So let's get straight into it. Shout out to the boy Lake and his gold mine site. We're going to be using this just to showcase some skills and do a bit of browsing through them. You can see I just went to the skills tab, which you can find over in the database, and I searched up break right there. This is going to give us a good layout of everything, all the skills that include some sort of break mechanic. And let's actually just start at the beginning. So, breaker, right? This is obviously the first skill you need to check off when you're considering a breaker or making someone a breaker. Here, Lake provides us a nice little cheat sheet on break damage, so let's go ahead and review that. All attacks other than special will deal break damage in addition to normal damage. Break damage is only effective against the boss. The boss has a break bar under its HP that depletes with each hit of break damage. When the break bar is empty, the boss will be broken and won't be able to move or attack. So it's basically a stun mechanic for the boss that also decreases damage. You can see these are your core breakers, right? Whenever we're talking top tier breakers, you're looking at Merity. Sukasa's great from the Dr. Stone collab. Dante from the DMC collab. Rem is a very good breaker as well. And DeGrogue is a fantastic breaker for a recent DOH that we just saw. And then you can see these other guys do come with breaker in their kit, but I've never heard them called out whenever someone's determining, you know, a good breaker unit. The top tier ones are in here, as I mentioned before. So just know that your break damage is different than your normal damage. But if I'm not mistaken, raising your natural damage does affect the amount of break damage that the unit does. So something to keep in mind, right? If you are wanting to make a unit a breaker, kind of like I'm going to show off with how I made Baran later, you're going to need the arc Terror of the Grana Seas. That's the middle arc right here. We're going to get into why specifically when I review, you know, the 2 best arcs to run if you're trying to do break damage. But Terror of the Grana Seas is definitely the star of any breaker. Break boost for 7 SC and extra 30% physical damage against broken enemies is extremely good to have for your units you're focusing on break. Just to get that extra damage off when they're in break, you can easily help yourself be capping on damage when you have this break boost skill equipped. Something I probably should have started with, but dual wield is an absolutely necessary skill when you're breaking because of the double hits that it provides. Dual wield is the king of physical DPS, and breaking more often than not does relate to your physical damage. As we saw, all of the units that we highlighted looking at which units come with breaker, they're all physical DPS. Merity, Sukasa, Dante, Rem, DeGrogue, all physical DPS. So you want to make sure to have dual wield equipped just to get those double break damage hits off on every unit. And then something I did want to shout out is actually Axe High Boost. This is a skill that not only gives you 25% extra physical damage, but it also gives you an extra plus 20% break damage. So with this and breaker and break boost, you're getting 70% to your break damage in total, and then an extra 25 plus 30, 55% to your physical damage when the boss is in break. Just a fantastic 3-piece skill set. If the unit doesn't come with any of them, you're looking at 5, 12, and then 21 SC for just massive break damage and damage while in break boost. It's a very good combo. Sometimes you will have to use Axe Equip as a skill, which is 2 SC. If the unit can't equip axes innately, you will have to spend the 2 SC on Axe Equip. But once you do that, you can take advantage of Axe High Boost, which is just another way to cheese your way into some more break damage. As I mentioned before, right, when identifying your great break units, you want to be looking for skills that increase the unit's break damage innately, that are usually unique to said unit. First of all, that come with the skills I mentioned before. If they come with breaker and they come with break boost, more times than not, you're looking at a breaker style unit. Nero can be a great breaker. What stinks is that one of his devil breakers does come with a nice boost in break damage, plus 50% right here. But we know that with the devil breakers being kind of gimmicky and that you can't guarantee which one you want besides unequipping the other ones, which then you're losing out on all of the other benefits that you get, like right here, DB Overture, 20% physical damage, 30% critical damage. If we look here, enable special to deal critical hits, plus 80% special damage. You know, honestly, if you want to make Nero a breaker, it might be worth it to unequip these devil breakers here. The problem is that if Nero gets hit enough times and your devil breaker does break, you will lose out on all of the buffs here, and you get no backup buffs from any of the other devil breakers. So something to keep a note. I actually would like to test that and see if it's worth it. Taking a look at the queen herself at breaking, Merity. She comes with this trait or skill, I believe, right here. It is a passive skill, soul damage conversion. When receiving damage, each hit will stack a soul damage conversion buff. This effect will reset when skill 2 is used. So every time she gets hit, she gets this stat, plus 1% damage for skill 2 and plus 2% break damage for skill 2. And that's up to a maximum of 100% and then plus 200% break damage. You can see if you kind of just let Merity sit there and take some hits, she can rack up that damage quick on her skill 2 specifically, because it is a per hit stack. So I know Naglfar likes to launch his magic attacks, likes to spam his skills, so it's not hard to build her up. If you have a little bit of patience, then you just blow him away with your S2 and S3, which have huge break damage built into them. Dante's a wonderful breaker because if you put him into this Swordmaster style, he gets 15% physical damage, 50% break damage, and then 25% damage to broken enemies, just extra multipliers on top of those key break skills that we talked about in the beginning. I never tested Del Morto, but I mean, this seems interesting. When dealing a critical hit, plus 75% break damage, so if you build a crit breaker Del Morto build, is that viable? I'd like to test that out and maybe bring him back to relevancy in that department, right? Because we're looking for units that, if you haven't yet, you can take them and build them to optimize them a bit for the Naglfar Fight, which is very important because of the rewards you can get, right? Those multiplayer rings are insane. The equipment that they're adding are very good equipment. As we're seeing, they're doing constant updates, putting things into the shop, but it is a grind. 100 rare multi-coins for each piece of equipment is no slouch. Granted, they increased the drop rate for the Naglfar drop event. You know, I've seen people getting 4 multi-coins in one run, which is absolutely insane, but it still takes a lot, and it takes a little bit of thought and strategy in order to take down Naglfar and not just kind of be a sitting duck in those multiplayer lobbies, which is why I want to make this video, just to highlight these skills, highlight what makes a breaker good, and hopefully help you take advantage of this specific multiplayer boss before it goes away completely. Next, I want to go over the 2 arcs that I want to highlight just to point out why, if you're trying to run DPS breaking, you need to be running one of these 2 arcs. The first one is the one I consider the best out of the 2, which is Terror of the Grana Seas, for multiple reasons. One, this is the arc you're going to want to run for your break damage because it does give the highest amount of break damage in its attribute currently in the game, plus 120% to your break damage. And look at this, when an axe is equipped, physical attacks have a 40% chance to ignore 50% defense. Keep that in mind because this is going to be important a little bit later in the showcase. And then wave start plus 40% to strength, and the strength boost does decrease proportionally with the time spent in the wave. That disappears after 180 seconds, so it is a very slow tick. You're going to have a nice little strength boost for the duration of this fight if you've got everything built correctly. But another reason I want to highlight this arc is because of the skills it comes with. If you pay attention to it, at level 1, you get Breaker. So then you can slap 50% extra break damage on one of your DPS characters that you're looking to make a Breaker. It also comes with Surprise Attack, which is a very important skill for extra damage multiplication for a very affordable SC cost. 4 SC for plus 50% damage if you're standing behind the enemy. It's very doable, especially if you're a multiplayer. If the boss is targeting a different player and you can position your character behind it, you're getting extra damage, which does contribute to your extra break damage, I believe. It comes with Skill Charge 1, which is nice. You're going to want to start with some SCT stock for your multiplayer boss wave since they're a one-wave fight. Then we've got here, Axe High Boost is the level 10 skill. I'm just going to skip over the next 2. You know, that's the extra skill if you've got some extra SC. If you don't have to run Trishula, or if you can take advantage of axes, you can put Axe High Boost on the unit, get that extra break damage, and then also have a chance to proc the effect in this arc itself with that 40% chance to ignore 50% of defense. That is actually very significant. For the Naglfar Fight itself, something Tweaks highlighted, which I actually do want to take note of since we're talking about it. I think it's Giga High Drain. Yes, so Giga High Drain, Lilibet and Rabala are especially good in the Naglfar Fight as well as your support characters. One, because they have a very high damage output, so once you get that boss into break, you can deal a good amount of damage. But also, if you launch off this skill in the beginning, lowering an enemy's defense helps contribute to the other players and yourself dealing more break and regular damage as well. So this is a very, very useful spell to bring in the game. It doesn't come on any arc, sadly, so if you do have Lilibet or Rabala, I imagine you can also kind of tailor their builds to not only bring this debuff to the table, but also then provide sufficient break and damage when the boss is in break with both of these characters. And the second arc, if you don't have Terror of the Grana Seas, something that is also wonderful to bring is Phoenix Blow. For its attribute, you are losing out on just 20% of break damage, but plus 100% still fantastic. And also, you get a flat 25% to your skill damage. So you're getting that raw damage boost. Specifically, right, if you don't have Terror of the Grana Seas, this will look fantastic on top of any breaker for those 2 reasons I mentioned before. And to my knowledge, those are the only 2 really viable break arcs because of those massive break damage increases. So hopefully you got lucky, you pulled one of these throughout your summons, and you have it leveled up in order to use for your breaking needs. Getting back into the game, right, I do want to showcase Baran himself and why I think he is just a wonderful unit for this event for a multitude of reasons. Is he your best breaker? Absolutely not. The characters, like I mentioned, Merity, Dante, I think even Nero's probably better. DeGrogue all have fantastic natural breaking capabilities built in them. But here's the thing about Baran. One, he's neutral DPS. Naglfar does resist elements quite heavily. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's at 90 resistance. So you're not getting him down below 0, which means for your elemental attackers like DeGrogue, like Dante, you gotta bring Trishula, which pretty much fills up your slot for your second weapon. You're not going to be able to bring axes or take advantage of that. However, with Baran, you can definitely take advantage of it. Because he's neutral, you don't have to worry about elementals. I do have this equipment set up with him, right? He's got his Scarlet Blade for all his sword boosts. We've got my typical Hail Sovereign's Ring, Phantom Tower Key for the extra damage cap increase as always. But then I'm able to equip Warlord's Halberd. I've talked about how much I like this axe in the past because SCT speed recovery, while Crypt made a good point, if you can constantly recharge your SCT manually, SCT speed increase is not so important. But I still think it comes in handy for any pinch of a situation where you don't have MP, you can't get a cast off. Your SCT speed being increased as much as possible will always help you. Going back to that point, Baran also has the magic skill, Ruination. So SCT recovery is extremely important in the Naglfar stage because more than likely, if you're able to start with a lot of SCT with things like Phone Booth, Honey Elixir, or if you don't have those collab limited things, you just stack a whole bunch of SCT charges on the unit, you're going to use all of those when you proc, or as you're bursting down the enemy, right? As you're bursting down Naglfar's break bar, you're most likely going to burn through a lot of your skill stock. So once he is finally broken, how do you get that SCT back? Well, with Baran, you go ham with Ruination. At 45 MP, 10 seconds of SCT does go a long way with Baran because his skill charges, they're not too SCT intensive, right? I believe 1 or 2 procs of Ruination, it will get you a full S3, which is by far his best break move out of the bunch. And you're getting that extra plus 25% damage. So Ruination can act as a budget Honey Elixir for Baran. If you don't have Honey Elixir like myself, I was not around when that collab rolled up. Ruination is just a fantastic substitute. And I think Baran is just a key character to note because of a lot of new players or, you know, early game players that have jumped into the game recently. All the pros have been telling you to either reroll or summon for Baran because of how great he is. That's just one of the many reasons. Like I said, neutral DPS, you can take advantage of the Warrior's Halberd, right? Use that axe to get extra break damage. If I go down to wherever I have his weapon boost, you see I got sword boost, sword mega boost, and axe high boost for that extra damage plus break damage to put on top of him. Like I said, Baran is not made to be a breaker. I had to equip all of the breaker skills like breaker and break boost, but they contribute to him just looking fantastic. From what I notice, Baran even breaks through the boss's break bar and deals such significant damage before you get him into break. And then once you get Naglfar into break, then he's capping left, right, and center. There's no stopping him. But his damage is extremely significant even while you're working your way down to that break status. What's nice is Baran also comes with piercing, which has a great chance to reduce enemy defenses, particularly useful for what I said. Lowering the defense of bosses, especially ones like Naglfar, is extremely useful. I've got Awaken on him just to give some extra survivability, because if Naglfar catches you with one of his annoying attacks, it can burst you down pretty quick. I did give him Fast Brave, because typically this fight does not last longer than 40 seconds, and Life Brave, I'm sorry, not Life Brave. Vampiric Drain you can't really rely on because there are no mobs for you to kill and get that plus 35% strength buff, so I did put on Fast Brave just to get that 20% extra buff right at the start of battle. And then just a little extra SCT or a little extra SC on attack ups. Proud Force, of course, to get some kind of heal in there on the crits. Dual wield, like I said, extremely necessary and important. And I do have Phone Booth to rock, which does give me an edge that a lot of players won't be able to. I get to start with a lot of skill stock, but if I didn't have that, I would just stack all 3 skill charges, 1, 2, and 3. Granted, barring that you have the arts to allow you to equip those skills. If you don't have any of that, Homeboy still has Ruination. So you can start the battle off, proc Ruination a couple times. You know, with this current build, we're sitting at, 218 MP. So that's at least 4 procs of the skill, which can increase your skill stocks substantially. And you can at least contribute to the breaking of the boss. And then, Baran's got things like auto haste. With that axe I was showing, which I should mention you get from the SR Ark, Aldana Coliseum, just in case you haven't seen some previous videos. Something that you will max out eventually by pulling duplicates of it, because you're going to. You'll eventually get Warlord's Halberd, which is, like I said, a great axe to use. In the meantime, we don't have a lot of good axes in the game currently. So this one stands out above the rest, and it's on an SR arc, which is very nice. And then, like I mentioned, I do have Terror of the Grana Seas equipped to this man, and because we have that axe on him, he does take advantage of the second part of the attribute, giving more chance to reduce Naglfar's defense even more. So now I've done enough talking. Let's host a room and see why Baran can contribute to the damage so well. So just waiting on one more. There it is. This team is absolutely going to destroy. We've got DeGrogue and a Merity. Kohaku, she'll be nice DPS once we get the Baran to break. Maybe this person has built Kohaku for a break style, and I don't know the proper build for her yet, but with me, DeGrogue, and Merity, you're going to see this break bar melt so fast. And pay attention to when I proc skills. I'm going to start with my S3, because with Phone Booth I can start with a full stock of it. And you'll see that break bar go down considerably. So here we go. Boom, and we got Merity doing Honey Elixir. This Merity's about to destroy. Shout out to B Romeo. Listen, for a non-break unit, that's a nice little chunk. Even at about, I'd say 10 to 15% of damage to that break bar, you can absolutely contribute. And then once we start launching skills, we can barely even see it. But the damage we are doing to this man is considerable. I guarantee you we're lagging right now and this damage isn't going through. I'm going to pop another Ruination so we can get the skill stocks back. And I can't even see. I'm looking for it. If you notice, those 19,999s are from us, which is a very, very considerable amount of damage. Flex our gold sticker for that top 100 in Arena last season. I'm gunning for that Ray gold stamp as well. So this is definitely an end game build, right? Don't let me confuse you and say this is so free to play friendly. Wow. There's the 3 rare multi-coin drop room. That's pretty insane. Merity definitely stole the show there, because that was a Honey Elixir perfectly built Merity for that specific event. There's not much that competes with her, but a lot of new players probably didn't take the time or don't have the proper stuff to build out a Merity to look as good as she did. Let's try again and see if we can do one that showcases Baran just a little more. Doesn't get the spotlight stolen from him completely. Looking at a maxed out Merity built like that, I mean, look at that, really just took away from the highlight of any kind of break damage I was trying to show with Baran. But if you can, I want you to try and pay attention to the damage that Baran is doing even while the boss isn't broken. Another thing I love about Baran so much is that his skills, he has that super armor on top of his skills, so he persists against Naglfar's attacks. As long as you are mid-skill animation, you can pull off the entire skill to completion. We've got a DeGrogue in the party again, so we're looking at massive, massive damage, which is probably going to steal the spotlight again from Baran. If we can get a 4th before one of these guys leaves, whoever the 4th person is going to be joining a guaranteed Naglfar clear with these 3 damage characters lined up. And I guess that's another thing to note as well. Even if you can't be the star of these lobbies, like Merity or DeGrogue are definitely your top tier breakers in this situation. I'm telling you, with Baran's damage and even the little bit of break contribution that he can give, you help deal that damage, and once the boss is in break, Baran with a 20k cap is no slouch and is going to be draining that health down. You saw that Naglfar starts with over 5 million HP, so you need some good DPS burst damage. And with his Ruination, his natural way to build up his SCT innately, you can absolutely contribute to this by using this just insane character for so many reasons. Looks like we got another Baran in the build, and right on time. So thank you to my people for being patient. You can see that these are some goats of the game for just chilling and relaxing with me in the lobby. Wow. Okay, I'm assuming he disconnected because he did send a sticker right before we started, so that sucks. So Merity's not going to perform the way that she could have. I've got auto on. I'm going to turn that off. So here we go. Start with the S3. Then we're going to jump in with some S2s. You know, this is definitely a combo of me and DeGrogue dealing that break damage. But like I said, if you don't have a Honey Elixir Merity, This is actually a very respectable amount of break damage being done to this boss. But between both of us, here we go. Now he's in break. I'm going to cast a couple Ruinations just to get some skill stock back, and boom. We got a nice amount. And look at all those 19,999 caps. That is definitely coming from us. And just like that, one break, one burst. Between all of us, with that Merity basically not contributing at all because it was a bot, you can see why Baran can help you so much. Even if you just tailor him to be as breaker as he can, you can be an absolute asset to your multiplayer team. Soloing this guy without, and we got another 3-drop. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna record these freaking lobbies more often. But that just kind of threw me off. I just wanted to showcase how Baran can be extremely useful in this event, because if you don't have your honey elixir perfectly built Merity, there's not really any hope of you soloing Naglfar like that. Maybe to grow can. Maybe there are a couple ways, but definitely for me, I can't do it. I haven't figured out how. So it is about being a key part to contributing to that whole multiplayer lobby in order to take Naglfar down like that. I think Baran definitely showed out right there. And that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for this video, covering some basics in breaking that I've learned while playing. And again, right, if you're a brand new player, can you take advantage of anything in this video? Absolutely not. By the time you can probably build out a unit to be a breaker, or if you build out your breaker unit, you're going to be well past when Naglfar goes away. But I hope that some of the things I covered in this video did help to serve you in just breaker knowledge for the future. Any vets or pros that have extra advice or further clarification on some of the things I talked about, please drop the comments down below. You know, I'm always here to learn, just share what I think I know, but there's always things that I can be corrected on, or thoughts that I probably didn't flesh out as much as I could have. So I appreciate any feedback, any help, especially for others who are reading through the comments, looking for more knowledge. You already know the deal. We've been doing this for a minute, so I think that's all I got for you this time. Hope this video helped you out. Like it if you did. Like the video if you're going to take on Naglfar with this newfound knowledge. And I'm going to get to editing this video. So, y'all know what we say. Work hard, play harder. See you in the next one.